Good morning, children. Welcome to our next history class. Before we begin our lesson for today, let us listen and understand today's thought. It is well said that the early bird catches the worm. I repeat, the proverb is, the early bird catches the worm. What does it mean? It means, in literal sense, that the bird who starts early flying in the sky in the morning, there are more chances for that bird to find good amount of food for himself. If he starts early searching for his prey is P-R-E-Y, that is his food, that is the insects or the worms which generally birds eat, he can get ample food and maybe he would be in a better position than other birds. In the same way, how is this proverb applicable in human life? What have we to learn from this beautiful proverb, that is, the early bird catches the worm? It also means, that is the contextual or the meaning which is derived for us, or rather which we have to derive for ourselves, is that if we want to succeed in life, we have to wake up and start early than others. We have to be on our toes, prompt and quick in grabbing opportunities which come in our way, instead of being lazy and wait for things to happen on their own. Starting any task, any work, any kind of endeavor early gives us an extra advantage over others, and thus increases our chance and possibility of being more successful than others in life. Remember this well. Let us now move on with our lesson. Dear children, keep your textbooks and your pencils ready. Please simultaneously keep on underlining the important dates, the events and the names which you would come across when the lesson is taught. In no way should you distract yourself. Be absolutely attentive and listen carefully so that you can grasp and learn well. So dear children, we were studying about the first war of independence of the Indians who were fighting against the Britishers. That is the title of the lesson, the freedom struggle of 1857. Now, as it is our usual practice, we will quickly recapitulate what we have done in the previous classes, 2 classes. We have well understood now, dear children, that the revolt of 1857 was not at all a sudden outbreak, but it gradually got worsened because of the increasing discontent in the minds of the Indians against the Britishers. The Britishers left no stone unturned in harassing the Indians in every possible way. There was extreme exploitation of the peasants. The artisans or the workers were left jobless because of the new policies which the British government introduced. And they also took lead in interfering in the social, cultural and the religious life of the Indians. They went to the extent of interfering in the daily lifestyle practices or the village systems which were very strong and a commonplace scene in all the parts of India. All this together aroused a lot of anger in the minds of the Indians, and there were various parts in India, various regions in India where small revolts had already started taking place before 1857. We learnt a few of those, that is the Paika rebellion from the eastern part of India, that is Odisha and Bengal. We also learnt that major three sections of the Indian society, that is the farmers or the peasants, even the sannyasis and the fakirs whose religious sentiments were encroached upon by the Britishers with their new policies. They also led various revolts. They also led the revolts of the peasants. We also saw the Indian tribal community, the tribes who were the residents or the natives of the forests, also being harassed, and they also got together and rebelled against the Britishers. We found that very strong leaders like Umaji Naik posed revolts in Maharashtra, where he led a community or a tribe known as Ramoshis, and he inspired many other revolts which took place in Maharashtra in various parts, that is Pune, Satara, Nasik, etc. We also learned that how the Indian soldiers were unhappy with the British government, and two major revolts did take place before 1857, that is in 1806 at Vellore and in 1824 at Barakpur. Furthermore, we learnt about the causes of the struggle of 1857. The economic causes precisely were the discontentment of the farmers and the artisans who were left hand to mouth. The social causes with which we started our yesterday's class, that is the introduction of two important reforms, two important acts, two new rules, social rules which were introduced by the Britishers. Of course, those were correct. That is prohibition of sati, and they also promoted widow remarriage, which was absolutely not possible for the Indians to accept, because the then Indian community was extremely orthodox in their beliefs. They thought that the Britishers were taking a lot of advantage of the Indians, because the Indians were maybe at times weak, they could not fight against the Britishers, and therefore it was proving advantageous for the Britishers to overpower or create more amount of supremacy over the Indian people. The Indian orthodox mind did not accept these social reforms, and therefore people posed a lot of dissatisfaction, or they showed a lot of dissatisfaction against the Britishers in the form of these revolts. We also learnt about the political causes, that is annexation of or capturing of new Indian territories or kingdoms or small princely states in various parts of India under various reasons. It may be the reason that the king is not competent enough to administer or run the government well, or maybe faulty or maladministration, or one more important concept which they introduced, that is the doctrine of lapse. We have learnt what is doctrine of lapse, that is, if the king doesn't have a son to succeed him, that means if the kingdom doesn't have a successor, or if the king doesn't have an heir to his throne. I told you it's not, the pronunciation is heir, but the spelling is H-E-I-R. It means if the kingdom doesn't have any successor or any heir to the throne, that territory, that princely state, that kingdom would be forcibly taken by the Britishers under the doctrine of lapse. So these political causes also were in a way responsible for the revolt of 1857. Further, we also studied that how the Indian soldiers were discriminated and treated very badly by the Britishers. The Indian sepoys or the Indian soldiers who served in the British Army were treated very badly, and therefore they were unhappy with the British government. They were paid less than the British counterparts. They did not get any higher rank or post, and all the allowances and advantages, privileges were given only to the Britishers. We move forward with the immediate cause. We have seen that the introduction of the new Enfield long rifles in the army was the point of trigger for this revolt of 1857. The cartridges which were used in these rifles were covered with the fats of cows and pigs, and the soldiers had to tear away with their mouth or bite it with their mouth to remove this cover, and only then these cartridges could be used. This was a blow to the sentiments of the religious sentiments of the Indian soldiers, and therefore they retaliated against the British government. They opposed this use of the new cartridges which were introduced, or the new rifles which were introduced, and in this opposition they had to face severe punishment from the Britishers. To show retaliation or to protest against this, a very brave soldier named Mangal Pandey assassinated or killed an English officer. He was immediately captured and hanged. And the moment Mangal Pandey was hanged, this news spread like wildfire among the Indians, particularly among the Indian soldiers. And they finally decided that we will now stand up against the Britishers unitedly and give a tough fight against them. So they started from Meerut cantonment and they marched towards Delhi. And while that is on the way towards Delhi, they were supported by a number of Indians, irrespective of caste and creed and religion, what profession they followed. There were many peasants, sannyasis, workers, artisans, people from royal families, priests, common people. Everyone joined and showed their massive support to this revolt of 1857, which was triggered by the Indian soldiers. They reached Delhi and they proclaimed Bahadur Shah as the Emperor of India.